Hey guys, what's going on? It's Ash here coming at you today in Clash Royale. I hope this video finds you all doing well. I am so pumped right now because balance changes are finally here after 2 months in the game, and today I want to bring you 3 amazing 24-win decks. What the heck do I mean by 24 wins? Well, so many people tweeted at me this morning, so many pros with decks that they're having new success with, including Ice Wizard and Mini Pekka, that I thought to myself, you know what, I'm just going to take the best in terms of what people have shown me already, and basically all 3 of these decks have won 2 12-win challenges, whether they be the Legendary Challenge or just a Grand Challenge. So I'll be sharing those replays with you guys and giving pro tips for each of these decks. Now, for time reasons, we're only going to show 2 replays on all of the 3 decks, but if you guys want to see one of these decks more specifically in an in-depth interview format, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I'd love to have one of these pros on voice to kind of share tips in the longer format episode that you guys know that I really enjoy so much. So the 3 pros are going to be Amin from Reddit Alpha, Sjoerd from Mega Smiley, and Maxim from Nova, and we're going to be sharing a balloon that you can see right now, a balloon Ice Wizard control-y deck. We're going to be sharing a hog deck with Ice Wizard, and we're going to be sharing a Golem beatdown deck with Ice Wizard and Mini Pekka. Essentially, Ice Wizard and Mini Pekka I really anticipate are going to shift the meta to a more defensively oriented, but still having that flair of quick counterattacks and quick offense, because the Mini Pekka is so good on counter pushes. So it's really opened up the meta. I think we're going to see a meta shift, but I do have one caveat before we get into the tips for this balloon deck, which is awesome. And the caveat is don't overreact on your own gameplay to balance changes. I know it's very easy to do. I'm also susceptible to it. But if you have a deck that's really working for you with Night Witch or even Graveyard, cards that took big nerfs, don't be afraid to still use them, guys. I mean, still use them, see how you do. Maybe you can make adjustments or tweaks to help bolster up the deck to perform better in the new meta, but let's not overreact too much. Certainly, it's you know, this episode's going to kind of speak against that because we are going to be using 2 of the recently buffed cards in all of these decks, but just kind of a, you know, I don't know, it's kind of just a message to you guys to be aware that your old decks can still work. You don't have to make drastic changes. Also, throughout this episode, I'm going to highly recommend all 3 of these decks in the 20-win Crown Championship Challenge, the Crown Challenge. These decks are going to be, you know, some of your best bets if you can go ahead and play them right now and then bring them into the Grand Challenge when it comes, or the Crown Challenge, excuse me, when it comes. You're going to have a lot of success. So definitely keep these decks in mind. I will give some Crown Challenge tips throughout this video as well. So let's get to the first replay here from Amin again from Reddit Alpha. So the main win condition is obviously the balloon. You're going to have the balloon and the Ice Golem as really your 1-2 punch, similar to other balloon cycle decks that we've seen in the past from Pompeo and other good Mini Minter, for example, other good balloon players. Defense, you know, it's going to be the same for all of these decks, right? It's going to be Ice Wizard and Mini Pekka. Ice Wizard and Mini Pekka are an extremely lethal pair now. Mini Pekka can one-shot all of the wizards, Ice Wizard, Electro Wizard, and regular Wizard. He can also one-shot Musketeers. He's really strong. He's good against tanks. He's a really good choice now again in the game. A lot of people don't remember this, but Mini Pekka was actually one of the most popular and strongest cards. If you go back to the Shanghai tournament, which was really, it really represented in my mind a big time in the game for a big meta shift when Goizen became really popular. A lot of people don't remember this, but Mini Pekka was even more popular than either Giant or Poison back in that meta. So definitely, Mini Pekka is back, baby. A lot of people might be happy about that, especially if they didn't have a high level or a Night Witch at all. I mean, it's a good option for really any old Night Witch deck that you want to give a try. Try subbing in the Mini Pekka. I mean, obviously, Night Witch, much different in a lot of ways, but defensively, Mini Pekka is back, baby. moving on to the double elixir time. We're going to use the same format on all 3 of these decks. Basically going to go through single elixir, double elixir, common mistakes, offense and defense, okay? So let's start with single elixir, actually. Single elixir, you're going to be wanting to use your lightning in this deck, and this is also going to follow suit for the next deck. You're going to be wanting to use your lightning on all the pumps. You don't want your opponent to pump when you're playing these decks. So in single elixir, lightning against the pump. In double elixir, that's when you're going to want to shift a little bit. Start using that lightning on offense comboed with the balloon, or in the next deck with the hog rider. So Amin says you want to go into double elixir, and that's where you can start being aggressive with the balloons. You can start preparing for what your opponent's going to do and predicting for what your opponent's going to do. You want to have that lightning ready, of course. So the first move of the entire match, what Amin says to do is wait for them to make the first move. I say that every single time, right? I mean, it's a joke at this point. But wait to see what they do, because essentially the reason you're doing that is to see if they pump. If they pump, you're going to want to lightning it right away. And if you don't have lightning in hand, you're going to want to push with the ice golem and balloon. If you don't have ice golem in hand and just a balloon, you're going to want to push with the solo balloon. Essentially put that pressure down unless you can easily cycle to the lightning before they get 1 elixir out of their pump. Common mistakes with this deck: playing the ice golem loon as the first play of the game before they do anything. That's a big mistake with this deck. Although it is a rather fast deck, it's not like you can start out with an ice golem balloon. That's 7 elixir. It's much different than just sending in a solo hog in the next deck, which the pro will advocate for. So remember, guys, you don't want to start out with an ice golem balloon or just a solo balloon as your first play unless they A, drop the elixir pump, or B, drop a tank in the back. Then you can attack the opposite lane using your balloon. And not rushing the other lane is obviously the other big mistake. Just like a hog cycle deck, this balloon deck, you're going to be wanting to push the other lane relatively hard if they drop that golem or that giant in back of their king tower, really any point during the match. We're not just talking about first plays here. So again, a golem, a lava hound, a giant in the back of their tower, even a bowler, you know, they drop something 5 elixir or more behind their king tower. That's when you want to go aggressive on the other lane with your balloon, and that's really going to accomplish 2 things. Number 1, it's going to have to cause them to, hopefully it will cause your troops to get to the tower and do some serious damage, but more importantly, it's going to kind of divert some elixir that would have otherwise been spent to support your opponent's push with that tank, and they're going to have to use it to defend. That's going to make defending on the other side much easier for you. So again, huge shout out to Amin for sharing that deck from Reddit Alpha. Moving on here, we have Sjoerd. And that's a really bad pronunciation of his name. I practiced for like 10 minutes before I recorded this video. But he is from the Netherlands, and a huge shout out to Mega Smiley, his clan, a great clan family, one of my favorites out there. And he's going to be sharing this deck. I really love this deck, guys. This is one that I'm going to be giving a try. Out of all 3 of these decks, of course, you should pick a deck that suits your own strengths and weaknesses as well, and start with that one. That's what I'd recommend. So for this deck, it's a hog deck, but it's almost like a classic old school hog deck. Now, if you don't have the log in this deck, actually he has the, let me see what he has. Again, guys, I don't edit here. Okay, there we go. If you don't have the log, you can add the zap in for this deck. And for offense, he doesn't mind starting out with a solo hog play. So solo hog at the bridge to see what your opponent has. Think of it as a scouting play. This deck is a very fast deck as well, similar to the first deck. The third deck is going to be a very slow deck. So we're going to shift gears a little bit when we go on to Maxim's deck. But for offense, a solo hog is just fine to scout out your opponent. If they have the tornado, you're going to want to be aware of that, and you're going to want to outcycle the tornado. That's how you beat tornado, according to Sjoerd. According to Sjoerd, you outcycle that tornado throughout the rest of the match. So essentially, you're going to want to cycle fast against tornado. Otherwise, it's going to be devastating and very tricky to deal with. It's obviously a very tricky card to deal with as is. I do expect that Executioner and Tornado are going to remain a lethal pair in the new meta. So another thing you can do with this deck is split pushing. Split pushing is something that we haven't talked about too much in hog decks because it hasn't been as viable as we see it now in this new meta, perhaps. I mean, it's still early. It's day 1, right? So what does that mean? It means that when you defend on one side, where you're not going for your opponent's tower in that side, so let's pretend your opponent is focusing on your left tower, and you're focusing on your opponent's right tower. What you want to do is, you defend over here, with the Ice Wizard Mini Pekka. That's your main defensive combination. And then when the counterattack is happening, you'll have the Mini Pekka and the Ice Wizard. I don't know why I'm doing the hand motions here. I feel so corny. Okay, so you're going to be using the Mini Pekka and the Ice Wizard to push one lane. Instead of comboing your Hog over there, going to put the Hog in the other lane. And that's something that Sjoerd really likes to do to kind of, split his attack and keep your opponent on their toes. It also keeps your opponent from getting a lethal counter push in return against you, because they're using a little bit of elixir on both lanes, right? So they're going to come at you with whatever, an Ice Wizard or Ice Wizard of their own, and maybe a Mini Pekka of their own, but they're going to be coming down in opposite lanes for you. Much easier to deal with. Those are kind of like the plays within the match that really make for an advantage on your side of the arena. So on defense again, guys, we have Mini Pekka, we have Ice Wiz, double elixir. This deck cycles very, very quickly. You want to try to get 2 to 3 Ice Wizards at a time, because they're only cost 3. Ice Wizard is, I'm so happy that Ice Wizard got a huge buff, guys. He's really strong right now. And of course, the DPS is actually relatively the same, because he did get a slight reduction in his firing speed, or his attack rate, I guess is the technical term, right? So he is essentially same DPS, but now that he can one-shot bats and skeletons, it makes him incredibly more valuable. He's going to be taking out a lot of support troops, whether it be a Night Witch, a regular Witch, or heck, Skeleton Army. It doesn't matter. Defensively, he's so strong, provides so much value for just 3 elixir. Now all we need is a welcome to the arena video, guys, and we will be boom, we'll be looking good for Ice Wizard. I'm so happy that he got a buff. Are you guys happy too? I mean, that was my favorite balance change of the entire balance changes, okay? And it's funny, a little inside information here. Shh, don't tell anybody I told you guys this. But so Supercell, they didn't say this outright, but they kind of alluded to the fact when we were kind of discussing the balance changes before they were released, because they provided to us a couple days early so we can share it in videos. And they were like, I kind of got the sense they were like, they felt that Ice Wizard was really strong anyway. And they're like, you know what? People love it. People want it. We'll give him a little buff, but they think that he was already strong. I really got that sense. So now I think that it's like Ice Wizard meta. That's, the theme of the video. So just kind of sharing behind the scenes a little bit with you guys. So it says a lot to me when they already felt he was underused and strong. And now, man, he could just be so much stronger. So I'm so excited about Ice Wiz. Now, this deck, actually, let's go to single elixir play. So single elixir play, Sjoerd. Every time I say that name, I just crack myself up. I'm sorry, guys. I'm notoriously awful at butchering names on this channel, and I feel awful about it to the point where I actually Google name pronunciation before I start the video, and I practice. And then I always butcher it when it comes video time, and as you guys know, I don't edit, I don't script, so it's just like, I just fail. I just rip ash. But anyway, single elixir time, he says to get 6 hog pushes in. That's his magic number. He likes to get 6. If you're getting way too much more, you're probably being a little bit too aggressive. If you're getting too fewer than 6 pushes with a hog, you're probably being not aggressive enough. So in the first 2 minutes, he likes to shoot for around 6 to 8 range of hog pushes in single elixir. When you get to double elixir, that's when you can get more aggressive. It cycles very quickly. Again, we talked about that. So common mistakes are overcommitting to lightning and getting punished. Lightning on offense, again, just like the first deck, guys, it's really a double elixir card. If you're using lightning too often offensively in the first 2 minutes, you're probably playing the deck incorrectly, and it's probably not going to lead to a lot of success, okay? So lightning on defense for the first 2 minutes, lightning on offense, unless you're getting tremendous value, of course. If the opponent pumps and then drops a wizard or whatever, a witch, a night witch, next to the pump, of course you're going to use lightning in the first 2 minutes on offense. But still, it's important to remember that even if you send in a hog and your opponent drops like a cannon or something in single elixir time, that's not a good opportunity to lightning there, because odds are you're going to put yourself at a huge disadvantage. You might get a few swings with the hog in, but they're going to be at sitting near close to full elixir, and you're going to be sitting at like 3. So it might be a recipe for disaster on the next exchange between you and your opponent. So opening plays, you can put a hog at the bridge. Make sure if you're going to combo the hog with goblins, a little inside pro tip for you guys, place the goblins all the way to the right, not directly on the bridge. They'll get 1 extra stab in if they do reach your opponent's tower. Okay, moving on to the third and final deck. This is Maxim on his pushing account here. He has several accounts. He's an account pusher. So he's a really good guy from Germany, really good player, really underrated. He's won a bunch of challenges with this deck early today. So let's get into the tips here. Actually, before we get into the tips, really quickly, I want to run down, by the way, today's going to be a big day. Going to be 2 or even 3 uploads. Yeah, a lot to talk about in the game, and I'm so excited that I just want to share as much content as I can with you guys. So make sure you subscribe for those videos coming out today or tomorrow. A lot of balance change talk, even beyond just Ice Wizard decks and the new kind of control-y type of flavor that the meta has right now. So about this Grand Champion Challenge that's coming, 20 wins. It's going to be very difficult to get 20 wins. Me personally, I don't think I'll do it, but I'll sure as heck try. And remember, you can see on the screen right now, Supercell changed it, so it's much more friendly to free-to-play players, drastically reducing the gem cost and giving more free entries. It's just really, really awesome of Supercell to listen to the, the pain points of the community and address them and nip them in the bud. So it's nice to see that from Supercell. But we will all have, a fair amount of shots at this, and my goal personally is just to try to see how many I can get, right, and try to improve on that in the next, in the 5 or whatever days of the phase 1 of CCGS. Remember, you do have to be 16 or older to move on to the next round, and you'll get a notification in your actual in-game inbox if you are one of the lucky ones to get 20 wins. Now, again, I would recommend using all of these decks, and if you're a casual or a novice player, or just even an intermediate player, you're going to have way better luck if you wait till closer to the end of the challenge to play more, because in the beginning, it's going to be all the pros making sure they've collected their 20 wins and their invitation to the next round. So you might want to maybe use one of your free entries early on just to kind of get a feel for the challenge and, set that benchmark of what you want to beat, try to improve on your personal best, and after that you might want to wait a few days if you don't want to run into all these pro players. Okay, so now let's get to this deck. It's the heaviest beatdown deck that we're going to be covering. It's Golem, and he has Ice Wizard, Mini Pekka, and Bats. All of those cards got a big buff. I'm seeing a lot of bats. I saw my clanmate Heisenberg Gaming. Make sure you check him out on YouTube. I saw him using a bat golem deck, and he was having a lot of success. Here's another one here by Maxim again. Maxim wanted to give a huge shout out to Toby Spirit Hawk, one of my friends, another German streamer, and he's part of a competitive group called the Clash Freaks. So a shout out to those guys. Now let's talk about the deck. Offense. What you want to do is it's basically a typical Golem beatdown deck, guys. It's mainly Golem, and you're going to support it with support troops afterwards. Depending on what your opponent's deck is, you're going to want to select the best counter support troops for whatever your opponent's going to be throwing down against you. It's pretty obvious, but hey. Zap for Log and Musketeer for Ice Wizard if you don't have either of those 2 legendary cards. So Mini Pekka, Ice Wiz, Bats, and Executioner are going to be basically your 4 robust, strong defensive cards in this deck. You're going to take a ton of damage with this deck, and Maxim really emphasized that on his pro tips that he sent to me to share with you guys. Don't be afraid to take a lot of damage. It's a Golem deck. It's a heavy Golem beatdown deck. Don't be afraid to lose a tower. Don't be afraid to take to even play a Golem early on if you don't have an obvious other play, and take some damage on your other tower, okay? So don't be afraid to take damage with this deck. It's a 3-crown deck, and you're hopefully going to get a lot of them when you're playing it, okay? So big Golem pushes and often split pushes in double elixir time. That's something that Maxim really advocates. So he tries to keep the opponent on their toes and tries to keep them from devoting all of their elixir to stopping one big Golem push. Because think about it. Even if you have a really nice push going with the elixir advantage in one lane, your opponent can still use like an Inferno Tower, an Executioner, a Tornado combination, and get a tremendous value against you. So what Maxim likes to do is he likes to, in double elixir time, remember, not single elixir, in double elixir time, he's going to split push. He'll just throw a mini Pekka or something down the other lane and see what his opponent answers with, and cause his opponent to have to split some of their defensive elixir and worry about the other lane as well. In single elixir, he'll do golem pushes. Now, the golden rule that I probably should have said at the beginning of this deck, according to Maxim, is this is his only common mistake that he provided me, and it's all caps. If you don't play golem, you lose. That's it. If you don't play golem, comma, you lose. And that's a really good tip, actually, because I noticed this, even in my own gameplay, that sometimes heavy golem beatdown users, they tend to kind of play maybe too defensively, or they think to themselves, some people, you know, golem is really something that I only want to do in double elixir time. But at that time, oftentimes it's just not enough. You need to get some damage or hopefully take a tower down even in single elixir time. It's okay if you lose a tower, but you need to be a little bit more aggressive than some players are with the golem. And, you know, Maxim said it best, right? If you don't play golem, you're going to lose. You need to play your golem. That's not to say you're going to be super aggressive. You're going to be playing your golem behind the tower. You want to get a nice push. Where people go wrong with being too aggressive with the golem isn't necessarily playing the golem. It's over supporting the golem, leaving them with absolutely no elixir and susceptible to a 3 crown or to losing a tower, you know, without losing a tower to not a lot of elixir in the other lane, getting punished by a solo hog because you've unloaded behind your golem with support troops. So just be aware of that. There's a sweet spot, and this comes in time, right? Time and repetition, and you'll get the hang of it with a deck like this. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed these replays. I've really tried to select from these 3 pros replays that I thought presented difficult matchups. For example, this one we're going against a Pekka deck, right? So I want to, and a Pekka is a hard counter, obviously, to the golem, right? So I wanted to give you guys a good flavor of the meta, what it could be. I included Lava Loon, included a hog, included bridge spam, basically everything, even that Expo deck that we saw on the second deck. That Expo deck's crazy right now, and Expo received a buff as well. So I tried to include a nice variety so you guys get a feel for how to tackle all these decks using the new meta decks. So guys, that is going to do it as we finish up this replay here. It actually goes quite a bit into overtime, so I do have a minute. So I guess I just want to end by giving a huge shout out to these guys. I mean, sometimes the pros come on and they just want their own episode, but it is, excuse me, it is a selfless thing to share the episode with 2 other pros in this case. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to these guys, all great guys. Again, Maxim representing Nova out of Germany, Sjoerd representing Mega Smiley out of Netherlands, and Amin, where I didn't get his location, but he's representing Reddit Alpha. All great clans, all great players. So guys, speaking of great players, great people, let's give a shout out to my YouTube partner, Bren Chong. You can find his information in the description below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did. I can't wait to try these decks. Best of luck in the 20 win or 20 whatever crown challenge. I hope you guys all do well. I can't wait to see or hear how you guys do in the comments. So guys, thank you so much for watching. It really means the world to me, and as always, take care, guys.